Hi, this is Alf again from Phonics here with an update. It's been a while. We've had a couple of different typhoons hit us, and so the rest of the time it's just been raining and not really worth doing an update outside. So, I promised a while ago, someone at the Urban Farming Community Facebook, correct me if I'm wrong here, that I would do a quick walkthrough and maybe explain a little bit about how the system circulates. So I figured I'm going to be trying to explain that, and then after this I'll go through and just explain what's happening in the garden. First things first, build siphons. So what happens is there is a main reservoir here at the bottom with a pump. That pump provides water pressure for the pipe at the top that goes horizontally across all 5 grow beds. And then I can adjust how much water I want out of each by just adjusting valves, or if I want to shut one of them off, I'll work on it, drain it out with water, etc. Now, what happens is that once the water hits the top of the drain pipe here, there's a suction created when the first bit of water starts flowing through, and that will suck everything up in, even when it goes below the top edge of where the drain pipe is. And so that means that it will drain out all of the water, all the way back to the bottom of the grow bed. And it is then continued to fill up again, and so it goes slowly up, drains all the way out, goes slowly up again, and the cycle repeats. Now while all this is going on, I have air stones situated below the filter of each of these grow beds. All of this floods down into the chamber below. And once it's done that, as it's going, the levels of each of these 5 grow beds is going to try and remain the same with U siphons between them. So let me just take the camera, I'll take you a little bit closer and I'll explain in more detail. So here's my main pump. This pump is a little bit overpowered for this, to be honest. It's 3,500 liters per hour pump. I think it's way too much. I think you could probably get away with half easily, because you don't actually need that much flow. But hey, I thought better to have a little extra than to have too little. So that provides the power. The pressure up here. This then distributes the power, the water pressure to all of the different valves. Go over here. You can see here. And it's just as easy as just turning it on or off in the configuration that you want. I've purposely just put in this small tube to avoid the splashing sounds that you're all now hearing, just because if you're out here on the chairs, it can be a little bit annoying. And no harm done. This sort of concentrates it, and there's almost no sound when you do this. So I figured that might be good. As you can see from the previous times, this has gone up and down. It reaches this level and then it starts flowing, draining out, and you can see it's almost going to start kicking in here. I'm going to leave this in. This, you can just hear it kicking in now. And I don't know if you can see this, but it's basically flowing at full power down here now. And as you can see, it drains out pretty quickly. It's, I don't know, it takes maybe below a minute or so and it will have drained out completely. Here's a better view of some of the roots from the cucumber that have started sneaking out from below the actual pot. More on that later, because that can become an issue when it hits the build siphon. But that's the idea. It hits the top of the drain pipe within the build siphon. All of this drains out, and there'll be a burping sound once the suction that's created from the build siphon, once that's kicked in and it's sort of released, that suction. You should be able to hear that in just a minute. And it's done. Then that means basically that it starts sucking in air instead of water. It releases that suction that's in the pipe. It's all done, and starts filling up again. I was about to say, this actually sits a little bit too low.
this is an old sisal that I cut down because it's sort of gotten a little bit out of hand. And just letting it regrow from the old stems. But it's actually sitting a little bit too low. Normally you don't want it sitting below the water line because you don't want the top of your whatever grow media you have here, you don't want that to get wet. If you do, you have evaporation from the top of it, as well as you will start to get algae growth on the top. So that's something to avoid here. Normally you would fill all of this up with grow media. This is sort of left open so that I can put in other stuff in the future. But for sure you don't want your grow media to be exposed to water and sun. Maybe a quick note on why I haven't filled everything up here with these expanded clay balls. So these, you can buy these for 2,500 yen, I think, on Amazon for 25 kilos. So it's not too expensive. The reason why I have not filled everything up with that is this way. Once you put something in, the roots will start infiltrating all of these, of course, just like you would with normal soil, and it's not easy to get in and out or regrow stuff or move it over, especially if it's something that's a little bit fragile. This way, once it's in a pot, I just take up the pot, move it to a different grow bed. It's kind of like a big puzzle, but where all the pieces still fit within the frame. So I can move this over to any of the other grow beds or move it around if something gets too high. Here's an example. This is a yellow tomato, quite delicious by the way. And I keep cutting it down because it starts almost, reaching the top of my terrace, and don't want it infiltrating all of this. So I keep cutting it down. If at some point I didn't want to cut it down or have it grow further up, I could move it over to a place with more room. So that's just the idea behind that. Sorry, I digress. If we go back down here again, all of these grow beds are pretty much the same, but they're all connected with this 25mm PVC pipe, and it goes in like this. So the water level will always be the same. If there's more water over here due to the water draining out, it will immediately push water over here if there's less water. That makes sense. And so it goes, and that means that these beds sits a little bit higher, as you can see, due to this. There's a small scaffold on each of them, with the exception of the center one. The center one has my pump, and so I would always try and have that sit further down, just because water intake at the top of the pump, if that gets exposed to air, the pump will drive on and it get damaged and in the end burn out the pump. So you would always want your pump to sit in something that sits lower. It's just a good idea. And by doing that, I'm ensuring that there's always more water in the center tank than in the side tanks. The tank is also at the same time a bigger tank, which means that it's a very powerful pump. So even if it pumps and fills up 5 beds almost at the same time, there's a smaller chance of it emptying out before any one of these will start draining, and the water will start flowing back to the center tank. This is an old electrics box where I have my air pumps in and some electrics. This keeps everything nice and dry, even during the typhoons that we've had here. I've had no issues. It is a bit small, a bit noisy, it's not very pretty, but it works. That is going to be superseded by this massive, even less pretty box. But it has a few features that's worth mentioning, and it has the room to fit a very, very big air pump that should be on its way here from China. Basically, I've bought a very big air pump meant for aquaponics. This is about 1,000 gallon per hour air pump, which again is way overpowered. But again, you can turn it down or do an overflow of air so that you don't have to be using all of that, but you have that extra power if you need it. This again, of course, is completely watertight. This has held out well through all of the typhoons we've had here. Now what I want to show you is that in here I have a couple of fans at the bottom that are protected with sort of slit down here, so it only it sucks out the air from within the chamber because this power supply gets very warm. And it does it by sucking in extra air from the holes where I got my cables coming in, pushes that out again over this slit at the end, and so it empties out all of this hot air all the time whenever this is on. And this is on a timer along with the fans, along with a power controller and another fan controller for the fog system. So all of this is actually only filled up with stuff that's separate from the drain beds currently. What does that mean? It means that every 15 minutes the system takes a break. Once it gets started, this fan will kick in, 120 millimeter watertight fan, water sealed fan, and the 12 head 20 millimeter ceramic disc ultrasonic pond fogger which sits inside it. That vibrates at such a high frequency that it evaporates the water and the nutrients in it. That becomes a fog-like substance. It looks warm. It looks like, well, it looks like steam, but it's not hot to the touch. So this creates a pressure within this chamber with all that fog that's carried out through the back pipe here. It's distributed out over to the these grow tubes, as you can see. It's actually connected with a bit of a tubing here, and that starts filling up the tubes, and it will start coming out of each of these tubes as it sort of overflows. The fog that comes out is heavier than air, but it's easy enough to push in this airform. So it's easy enough to push up, and well, the rest just happens by gravity. As you can see, it starts pushing it out of all the open grow holes that I have here. And as it pushes it out through this, whenever you have any sort of porous material, it's going to cling to it like dewdrops basically. So once this has been on for a very short time, all this will get very moist. So that's basically how that works. And on all the nutrients are in air form as well as the water, so it's very easy to bring all those nutrients directly to the roots. So that's another good thing about it. Here are a couple of leaves that I just cut off as I was air pruning a tomato plant. They don't look very healthy now, but that's mainly because they've been sitting in the direct sunlight out here. So I need to do something to protect them. But for a couple of clippings, I think they're doing quite well. Yeah, it's not looking too bad. And again, it's not hot or anything. It's just moist air coming out. We'll put these in without damaging them. There we go. Yeah, so that's really how that works. Now, currently, the grow holes that I'm not using, I purposely just sort of filled up with something so that it doesn't just overflow, because actually the pond fogger will go through some, I hope I'm remembering this right, some 3 liters per hour or so. And of course, you know, if it's in air form and it blows away, that means you're losing 3 liters from your system an hour. So actually what happens is it's pretty tight. So whatever hits the bottom tube, once it's flown down through the tubes, the bottom return tube actually leads back into the system, so really nothing is lost other than whatever comes out of the direct holes here. So it's not too bad, and most of this will flow down and fairly close to the actual fan intake, and some of it will flow back into the system because of the suction that's actually created here. You can sort of see it from here. So a lot of that's actually reused. So far I've found that it's very little that I lose for this system, because it's hooked up to the other grow bed system by another U siphon here. That means that I haven't actually tested it separate from the other system, so I don't know how much this is actually evaporating from the rest of the system. But as an overall, it's very little that I seem to be losing. Even during hot summer days, it's It's very little. Of course, because all of the results from all this is divided over 5-6 different tanks, it's not as evident as if you'd had only one grow bed. In the end, what does that mean? It means that I wouldn't be worried about going on vacation with the system left on. I think that's what it boils down to. Actually, the system is paired for a couple of extra tubes here. You can see they're open here, and you just turn them out, and they're ready to go. Now they've been blocked off because there's nothing in them just yet. So I figured no need to have the system for this fill it up with thought it's not used. So it's been left off for now. As soon as I have more seedlings ready, I can start filling that up. I'll just take out a bit of foam that's sort of stopping at this end, and then the fork will fill up the rest of the system, no problem. Same with this one. So turn it out, and if you think there's too much sun directly on, you can sort of just turn it away again. If you have plants on one side that needs more light than the other, and so on and so forth. Another good thing about this system is that it is modular as well. So you basically get pop off the top here. You can see it just comes right off. No need to hold this in place with anything much other than a zip tie, which is the case. And you just pop it out of the whole system. You can then clean it out if you want, or if it needs repairs, anything like that. Nice and easy. I just bought a lot of new small seeds here, sorry, seedlings. There is some cabbage, there's some parsley, some celery, different types of salads, different types of cabbage. Brussels sprouts. I had a talk with someone on the forum regarding this. So yeah, gonna give that a go. I also actually ended up with seeds, so I'm doing both at this point. I have my center here, which is still open, and here I am actually already growing some cabbage, fall cabbage here, and some very big green peppers. Should be like this. They should be very big, so looking forward to eventually getting some of that. So the center bed here, I will be filling this up with the cabbage as well as the Brussels sprouts and see how that works. Currently I'm just using it for space for some seeds. I've got some rock wool here. This is meant to be leeks, or like long onions. Some salads. For some reason I've had very little luck with salad, to be honest. It's just been too hot. Keep sort of failing over and dying on me. But we'll give it another go. Here I have different stuff. I have the Brussels sprouts. I've had some more leeks. I have whatever this is, and I have some beans, sweet beans coming up. And what was this again? And something else. Professional elf. Very nice. Different sort of things. It's gonna come out eventually. All of it is meant to be edible. I'll know what it is when it comes out. So that's the plan. So that's gonna fill up not just this system, but also the fogging system. And to that point, ants. What are these small green ugly things? There's stuff that I went out and bought today. They're arikorori. So it's like ant killer boxes. Ants will come in, they'll take these delicious stuff that's there, bring them back to their home, and they will sort of nuke them from within their hive. That's the plan anyway. Now if only I can get them to actually take it home with them. They just seem to be avoiding it. This little cracker here is having a good time. I don't know if you can see it. That's what we got here. Anyway, I have a massive ant infection. The ants seem to absolutely love my cucumber plants. They don't touch the cucumbers themselves, and as you know, the ants are not really the issue. The issue is the aphids that the ants bring. Now they end up sitting on the leaves, and the leaves, or these aphids produce, it's kind of like a lunchbox they leave on the leaves, and they go back and they'll eat from these aphids, as I understand it. But it damages the leaves, and the leaves can't sustain the plant, and so ergo it ends up killing the plant. So actually I've had to cut down about more than a third of my cucumber plant from this box. It used to stretch out, all of this used to be completely green. I've had to cut that down and just cut away at it because there were too many aphids on it. And then I've been planting these ant boxes, and hopefully that will help me get rid of some of this. And with the growth that this cucumber plant is putting out, I'm not really too worried. It is extremely fast. It's almost scary. Same thing goes for the asparagus that I bought. Was this now a couple of weeks ago? This was maybe, I don't know, 10 centimeters high. It's at least, I don't know, 45, 50 centimeters now. And this was again a couple of weeks ago, so it's it's doing good. So it'll be interesting to see once these eventually become a thickness that's, you know, might be good to start putting in stuff. People say that usually between 2 to 5 years it'll take before you're ready to harvest from an asparagus plant. I'm hoping to cut some of that time down with this hydroponic system. We'll see if that's the case or not, but yeah, it's fun watching it grow. Back to the cucumbers. The cucumbers again, ants are not really much of an issue for the actual cucumbers. It's just the leaves. So as you can see, so the actual cucumbers are doing just great. These are coming out at a quick pace, really quick. Pretty much at the speed that me and my girlfriend can eat, so that's good. Even with cutting it all back. So you know, this is a smaller one. This will probably be as big as this one in a day or two, max. I mean, you can see the growth day to day. It's really something else. Here, I have a very small terrace that faces south here, so it gets a lot of sun in the morning. Sorry, east. Here we go. What I have is some strawberries. They haven't actually set fruit yet, just a lot of runners. Try to cut it back, so eventually they should be producing stuff. They have been hit by the ants as well though, but hopefully that's under control again now. There's a couple of strange radishes that I moved over here to make room in a different system. It's not really well thought through, to be honest. I'll need to do something about this soonish, and just start being a little bit more efficient about it, I think. This is just a random garlic that I bought. It's finally starting to sprout, but look at these roots. I mean, what's that all about? I mean, that's just crazy. I mean, if you have that much root, go ahead and grow faster, will you? And it's the same for a couple of other garlics that's in this system now. The root systems are just crazy. Hopefully that means that now that they've finally come up and feeling happy, that, you know, they'll really start kicking in with growth on the other end. So that's my big hope. How does this work? So this is on a big black frame, and as you can see, it's a very sort of slim, flat, small terrace, which is quite typical for a Japanese apartment. So yeah, not much space, but for a system like this, it's perfect because it's a big black frame. That black frame has these 75mm PVC tubes zigzagging down, almost like a, I don't know, fire escape, something like that. Lots of little holes in it that you can put stuff and grow. And what happens is, with this one reservoir, it's getting dark now, it's a little hard to see, but there's one reservoir here, and in the bottom there's a very small pump. That pump puts up water up here at the top, and it just flows down as it's leaving a film of nutrients and water through the tubes, and well, invigorating all the roots and the plants in it. This works quite well. The only concern that I've had so far is that when the sun hits this, it gets very warm. And that was the issue with it on the other terrace, so I moved it over here. It gets less direct sun. The water temperature just rose very quickly. Think of it as a big radiator for water. I do have a sort of shade net that I can fold down in the midday sun if I need to. That's probably going to get filled up with some of the stuff, the new seedlings and sprouts that I was just showing. Apologies, my my camera cut off after about 29-minute mark on the video, so this has already gone on for far too long. So thank you all for watching, and if you have any questions or comments, stuff that I didn't cover, that you'd like to know more about, please do write something in the comments below, and I'll try and see if I can cover this in something a quarter of the length of this video next time. Thanks everyone.